I hope so. I hope so. That'd be nice. Steve Hennick, Mitzi Brazilian, Tracy Miller, Jennifer Peterson is excused, John Reardon, Bobby Stoffer, John Weitzel.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Is there any public comment tonight for any items on the agenda that you'd like to speak to prior to us getting into our full agenda? Hearing none, we'll move into a report on our Basin Creek Caretaker's House project update. Kate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I actually do have some photos to show you. There's not a huge change. We visited very recently, but I did get a chance to go out to the house itself and visit with John Snyder, the contractor. So there's not a huge, he's still working on the windows, as you can see. I've got some close-ups. He's working on the trim around the doors and the windows, and the ones on the bottom floor, for the most part, put in. The windows that are being replaced. There are also windows that he is restoring. So the doors are in, which is really exciting. So that's actually the back door, which has been wide open for a long time. So thankfully, the doors are on, the doors are in place, all the trims, everything fits. And these are the windows that are, they've not been touched yet. These are the ones that will be hand restored by John. So aside from that, I'm researching the Butte Water Company history for the National Register for Historic Places nomination. So I have been working on that, and it's always a lot of fun. Newspapers.com. So that's about it for Basin Creek. He's out there again. The weather is improved, so he's able to spend some time out there and not freeze.
Thank you very much. It's encouraging to have it going forward. Okay, yes, John Reardon, you have the floor.
I was just wondering if there's any upcoming grants or anything that you are looking at or coming down the road. I know how grants are and money's tight now and everything like that. But, we're definitely going to need some more money to finish the project, correct?
Yes, definitely. We know of grants that will be, grant cycles that will be opening up, like the Montana Historic Preservation Grant, several others that we're keeping our eyes on. Right now, I think that the main priority is getting that work done and getting the grant closed out, and then we'll really start looking. We've got, now we have, I don't know if I told you last month, but now we have a historicfunding.com subscription, which is a really good place to look for grants for these sorts of projects. So I will start actively searching for grants to work on the inside of the place. But main priority is finally getting the outside finished and finishing that part.
Can I follow up?
John, you have the floor.
Okay. I just want to thank you because I know that this project was controversial for a while and all that, and everybody around this table here, and I think it's one of the better and more important projects that, going on at the park is so I really appreciate your effort and your get-go, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All I've done is basically, carry
Well,
on
but-
from
but,
what
you
was,
know,
what
yeah,
was
it
already
takes work,
planned.
But
so.
I just want to let you know it's appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon.
Very well. Any other comments about this project? Hopefully it will proceed and get that thing buttoned up. It's come time in the spring. Uh, All right, let's go into some, the staff member report. Did you have anything else to add? Kate, I apologize. Do you have anything else?
I wanted to let you know, Commissioner Vasilian was concerned about the West Side Soils Cultural Resource Survey and the lack of the Bluebird Mill. She forwarded some questions on to me. I forwarded them on to the EPA, who is obviously going between the contractor, and he did give a response, and I did leave you the entire email. But the top paragraph says, "We will discuss the manganese mining history with the cultural resource subcontractor and determine the best path forward for furthering the historic district. The Bluebird Mill was included in the statement of work, as you said, and should have been included in this evaluation, but was inadvertently left out. The subcontractor will be evaluating the site when the snow melts and updating the site form that was prepared previously by GCM from 1989. So then there's a little bit more to it, but I will spare you that. So we have an answer, and we'll move forward accordingly.
Very well.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me. Go.
Just other updates, very quickly. Mothballing Committee is continuing to meet regularly. Land Sales Committee meets next week. I don't know that we have any projects. I haven't seen an agenda yet, so I don't know if there's projects that involve buildings on properties, but we're back to meeting next week. And finally, the Certified Local Government Grant. Apologies for not making it an agenda item. Kind of snuck up on me. So this is my first time of actually preparing the grant from the beginning. And I forwarded you all the scope of work. I've received some comments back on them and am addressing them. And I was hoping that you could let me know if you have any comments for me from the scope that I sent, and if we could hopefully move forward, even though it's not an actual agenda item, with approving my moving forward with the grant. And Chairman Hinnick, I left you the form to sign, if that's okay.
Great. Anybody else have a chance to read through that? It looks fairly standard that we've done in the past. I know it's not for a huge amount of money, but it's something that we need to continue to do in order to benefit the community and the application for these various programs, being a CLG, Certified Local Government. I would move that I would be able to sign this and get it moving to the state for their deadline. I know that you said you were going to work through the budget. That was about all that was really left.
Yes.
So, and I hope we'll get all our hours and stuff and put that in there. So
Yes.
I would move that as presented, the Historic Preservation CLG application should move forward. Do I hear a second? Tracy Miller has seconded. Any other discussion on this? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. I'll sign this thing. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So we have two interesting items on our agenda tonight. Design COA review for 225 South Idaho Street, the old St. James Hospital. I know I had a broken arm and had it fixed there back when. Do you want to run through this for us a little bit, Kate? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the old St. James. It was constructed in 1924. The interesting thing about this project is that we're actually talking about restoring these windows as opposed to replacing them, which is, of course, the preferred methodology. So, and there's quite a few windows, as you can see. I'll run through some of the photos. This is the little tiny red dot is the location of the hospital within Butte proper, and the footprint of the building. And here is a photo based on the car. It looks like the 80s, I would say 1980s or so, of the hospital itself. Now that's the Mercury Street side. And this is what it looks like, that same side today. So all of these windows are original, to your knowledge, right, Cameron? Every single window is original. Maybe panes have been replaced here and there. Wooden sashes. We were just pointing out earlier the little detail on the upper sash there on the bottom of the upper sash. There's a little kind of artistic swoop to it, little craftsman detail on the windows. So these will all be removed and restored by a person who has worked previously for Butte Glass and has experience with restoring historic windows. There's some, oh. So with that being said, and there's quite a few repair and restoration of 31 12 by 18 panes, along with the glazing and the restoration of the sashes, 52 window panes, 47. There's just a whole bunch of them in the middle addition and the south wing. So it's a fairly large building, and there's quite a few windows. So it's quite an undertaking, and Mr. Moylan is here to speak to his craftsmen and his skill at this, and maybe give us a time frame and things like that. So if you'd come up.
Thank you. Would you like to state your name and your address, please?
Yes, Cameron Moylan, 208 Washington. Thank you, Kate, and thank you all for considering this. It is quite an undertaking. This first phase actually only involves the basement and first floor windows, and then the next phase will be the upper floors. Keith Gallagher is the guy who will be fixing them for the most part. He's got another guy in Anaconda that actually will be doing the carpentry on the ones that are, because we've got a few sashes that did get smashed by vandals and the like, but most of them, that's kind of my reason for bringing this in, was most of them are in about that condition as far as strength-wise, and so they're a good candidate for restoration. They've held up pretty good. That one came out of the section that was built in '43 during World War II, and so you'll notice the fittings on it are actually not solid brass. The ones on the older sections are solid brass. These ones are just brass plated, and I imagine it was because it was just a scarcity issue at the time. But the oldest of them are on the original building, which faces Silver Street, and if you notice the windows that are arched on the top, those were the ones that were installed in 1883 when the building was first built. So yeah, you can see, if you go back to, that one right there, where you see that staircase leading up, basically that wall underneath the archways is, and the little bit sticking out above it is the last portion that's still exposed of the original building. And so you'll see some of those windows. Those are the oldest on the building, are those 1883 windows. And then the rest were put on between 1885 and 1943. So this would be in the newest section. Ruined your microphone there, but anyway. So if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Yes, I had a question. Are these going to be single pane glazing? Is this a single pane?
Yes.
Okay.
They are well made.
Yeah.
I mean, as you probably know from your just looking around at how buildings are built, hospitals and school buildings they didn't spare any expense compared to a lot of privately built buildings. Your hospital, the quality of your construction on hospitals and school buildings really is top notch, and so that's reflected on a lot of things here. And so we're gonna, do our best to do it justice and stick with that level of quality. Some of them I've considered we might be putting in storm windows in the future, but for now we're just focusing on what's there. The original section, the part built during World War II, really lends itself to repair because the runners on the inside that usually have to be pried out are put in, or they're screwed in, and so just a little bit easier to get those ones out than the rest.
Do these double hungs have counterweights with them?
Yes.
They do, and you're going to reuse those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for this gentleman?
Cameron, this is a great project, and I love your attention to detail. As we talked about the other day, I just want to make sure that priming is also part of it, even though it's not part of the bid.
Yes, I
And so
left
if you-
that off when I wrote basically the treatment of the sashes. Each one is sanded down, primed, painted, and then glazed. The glazing doesn't travel so well, so I picked one that doesn't have the glazing in it yet. But anyone who's familiar with glazing, it's a fairly simple process. But finding guys that are actually good at it is pretty difficult. So that's why I'm glad to have these guys working on it.
This building is certainly laid dormant and kind of an eyesore. It's really great to get it fixed up. Do they have any future plans for the building specifically?
Mostly it'll be staying apartments, but offices on the first floor and basement level, just like before.
Any other comment? Yes, Bobby Stoffer?
I just noted that you said that this will be the basement and first floors, but the application we have, it says it's the basement, first and second floors. Has that been a change?
That's correct, actually, yes. It's correct on the application, I just misstated it. It's basement, first and second.
Oh, okay.
We're focusing right now on the basement and first ones during the winter, because they're the ones that we can go back and paint the frames on when it's warm without having to set up a scaffolding or a ladder, so that's why I was thinking basement first.
Yes, John Weitzel, you have a comment?
On this too is, this might be curiosity, how's the roof on this thing?
It was redone in 2007, so
Oh, okay.
that was kind of one of my selling points on it was, that roof would probably cost
No big deal.
close to $200,000 to do again, but it's good for another 40, 50 years at least with
Oh,
the
good.
TPO up there.
Thank you.
No problem.
And I assume that they're going to be white, is that correct?
Yeah, we're just sticking with white, just like
Right
they were.
now, okay.
Yeah, white all the way around.
I see. All right. Well, would anyone like to make a motion on this project?
I'll make a motion that we approve this design COA.
Do I hear a second? John Weitzel is seconded. Any other discussion on the question? No, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations and good luck with the project.
Thank you all.
Okay, we have a determination of eligibility at 3500 Wilson Avenue, which I didn't really know Wilson went that far into the field, but it's at Burt Mooney Airport, and it's the old Doc Bartoletti's house. So would you give us a brief overview? You've got a lot of nice information here.
Yes, thank you. Well, I wasn't really sure what to do with this. I haven't done one yet, so I hope I did it right. I used the Montana Historic Property Record, which is what I found in my predecessor's files as far as what she would use for determinations. So the reason that some background on this property is the reason that it's come to me at all is because the current owners, Pam Chamberlain from Burt Mooney Airport, basically they came to me to let me know that they would like to elongate the runway, or they're going to be doing some work on the airport that now this property that's been sitting there vacant for I think about 6 years, it has been just sitting there dormant, and basically it's been out of the way, but now they need to address it. And the thing with this property is that no one can ever live in it again. She was very clear to let me know that it's an actual impossibility by law for anyone to ever occupy this home again, and that it was sold to the Chamberlains on the basis that the Bartoletti children all were aware, that it was going to be taken down. So, as a result, I thought that we should look at the eligibility of the building and determine that it is not eligible for the National Register. So, and there are no other structures on this parcel, as you can see.
Lake Avoca was nearby, which is now the Butte Country Club, and this style of house is actually, you can see some of it around the country club area, this style of a house. Yeah, Lake Avoca kind of came just on the other side of this house to the northeast. But it's part of that kind of era of that development, and it was on this side of the lake versus the White Way side of the lake. And so, I mean, I think it was very clear. I know at one time when, after the death of Mrs. Bartoletti, that she, and it was agreed upon that it was going to have to be moved or demolished because of the airport expansion of it's an approachway. So that's my understanding. Anyone else have any comments on this house?
I know Beetle pretty well, and we talked about it, like he says, this has been, I don't know how many additions put on it over the years. They had started off with a couple kids, and I don't know how many ended up with, but it's been, I think it's been remodeled like about 6 times, I believe.
That is, thank you, Commissioner, that is interesting. I had written in the property record that I don't believe that it hits any of the real major criteria for National Register of Historic Places, but I will say that Commissioner Rosillian mentioned that it would be a good idea to actually mention Doc Bartoletti. This kind of goes with my not being from Butte and not really knowing who the major players of the town have been over the years. So while maybe not enough to put him under criteria A of people of special interest historically, it's certainly of local, he was certainly of local significance. So you have in your packets that I handed out just now a short little couple paragraphs that Commissioner Rosillian put together about Doc Bartoletti that I would be happy to include on the page where we speak about I would add it to the statement of significance. Yeah. I still think, I do think the house retains lots of integrity as far as its original materials. Maybe not if it's changed a whole bunch. I certainly couldn't tell that, but still not enough to place it on the National Register of Historic Places. So I'm asking if you agree.
Do I hear any comments from fellow commissioners? Yes, Bobby Stauffer.
I just had a question. Do you know if they're going to, is it possible that it can be moved, or are they going to demolish it, or what?
The plan is to demolish it.
I wonder if they could offer it to be moved, or would it just not be feasible to move it?
Well,
I know that's out of our range anyway.
we have someone from the
Yes,
audience.
please come on up. State your name.
My name is Rick Ryan, last name is R-Y-A-N. I'm the assistant manager out at the airport. There's no possible hope of moving this project. The airport is the sole owner of this property now, and due to FAA restrictions and being in our glide slope path and stuff, if you go back a couple of slides, there's a couple pictures I can show you that bring me into the, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but there's a very critical, just south of that blue right, there's a line of like a road right there. That is all of our glide slope for our ILS, and it's got some really sensitive navigational equipment in it. That's why the FAA has a big issue with this home. Inside the home has been completely destroyed by transients and vagrants. They've stripped out all the copper wiring. They've taken all the walls apart. We've made 2 arrests out at this building here with our security officers within the last 6 months of people in there starting fires. All that stuff. So the entire inside of that building has been completely kind of trashed. So I would not, and the airport's not gonna take on that fiscal responsibility of moving that structure for sure. If that helps
Well, thank you.
answer that question.
I guess that's the way it is. You know, at the FAA, you know, it could be, are we going to get Southwest here?
No,
Oh, no.
I can tell you that right now, no.
Okay. Well, you know, I would think that in memoriam to Doc and his children and the fact that it was sort of a landmark there for years at the airport, that we should include this little dissertation on the Bartoletti family. And, you know, he was an outstanding citizen here in Butte. In fact, he and my father both founded this First Citizens Bank, and I think it's great that this is recognized. And I would agree with our HPO that this does not meet the criteria for a listing on the historic preservation list. Do I hear a second to this motion?
Second.
Been seconded by John Reardon. Any other discussion about this house? John Weitzel.
Just really quick, I was talking to a few people about this, and one of the things that was suggested, if it goes to the point where it has to be demolished, if there was some way that they could use this for fire training, like they've done in the past, like at the old ranch land down at the, by Stoughton Park there.
Correct.
And being that it's out in the middle of nowhere, it wouldn't be a hazard anyway. But that was just something that was asked to kind of throw in there because I know a lot of people that are in the fire department, so.
Sure, Commissioner. As a retired battalion chief with the Butte Fire Department, I know about them very well. We have offered this up to the Butte-Silver SWAT team for use for breaching purposes and SWAT exercises. We cannot burn this structure. They cannot do a live burn on these kind of structures anymore. They can use it for forcible entry training, all of that kind of stuff. We will offer that up to them. We've been in contact with them prior to the demolition. So yes, that would be a thing that is absolutely on our radar because our fire department guys at the airport train with the fire department guys at the city. So absolutely, they would. In fact, the SWAT team wants to use it sometime in April. And I've informed them, unfortunately, I'm not sure if it'll still be there in April, but they're more than willing to use it if it is, yes.
He has a comment.
I intend to vote to say that this is not eligible. However, it wasn't a decision that I made in my mind lightly. First of all, there was really no consideration under Criterion C, and I know, John, what you said about additions, but I didn't really see, nor did Kate, that there was a lot of evidence of that, in particular when comparing it with the 1959 orange card, which identified what it looked like originally. And granted, it didn't have the view on all sides, but the use of double hung windows, even in that dormer on the rear, is pretty telling, in my opinion. What we don't have in this town is a context for 1950s architecture, and I think it's something that, should other properties come up of that era, I think it's something we really need to think about seriously. Because there are a lot of 1950s houses, and particularly in the country club area. And this, to me, looking at the materials and the form, is a classic 1950s type of construction. And also the significance of the property under Criterion B for Doc Bartoletti. That is a difficult one to make an argument for significance that would be something that the National Register would list, but nevertheless, it caused me pause when we wanted to do this. So I think going forward, I think we really need to think seriously about 1950s architecture that is unbelievably 70 years old, and we really need to take that information seriously when we do an evaluation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, John Reardon.
I guess, in the transit,
Or Mike.
sorry. In talking and catching back, so basically all we're here dealing with is whether it's eligible for the national scenario, okay? So down the road, what is the procedure for this building to be demoed. We're out of it now due to the situation. We just had to make the determination, correct? Because I think there's been a lot of understanding with this Historic Preservation Committee on issuing demo permits and stuff like that. So I just wanted to let everybody know where we're at with this and what's going on, okay? Thank you.
All right. Hopefully you have everything cleared up.
You're the last one on my demolition permit application to sign off.
Are you?
Correct.
We could make you sweat a little longer.
Yep, she is.
Just kidding.
Yep.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, and it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Well, good luck on the project. We appreciate you bringing it forward. And now, any announcements? Any public comment on any items not on the agenda tonight? Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, well, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.